Hi, Fashion Dolls. Welcome back. Welcome back. It is Wednesday, October 23rd, with 13 days, 2 weeks left until election. Make sure you guys are registered to vote and go to vote.org or iwillvote.com. And I voted Monday, me and my mom. I need you guys to please go out and get registered to vote. There's only one clear choice of who is fit to be president in this election. This election is so close. So, this is what we know. People who've worked alongside Donald Trump have now come out and said, hey, this man is dangerous. So before I welcome my very special guest, I'm going to play some audio footage for y'all. For anybody who's undecided or on the fence, do your research on each candidate. Look at the best policies, where she's fighting for reproductive rights, your freedom, your rights to health care, all of these good things. Kamala Harris is an amazing candidate. Donald Trump will strip your rights away from you. And I think there are two clear present choices. And right now, the way it seems, we are headed towards authoritarianism. He just went full on fascism. All right. So I'm going to play some audio for y'all. I'm going to send this to my very special guest, but I'm going to play some audio for y'all so that y'all can hear from his own words. You got it, Fashion Dolls? All right. Thank you, brother. Shout outs to my brother, K Tooks. He is the host of the K Tooks Spot. Let me play some audio for y'all.
Me the way that Hitler's generals supported him. The fact that President Trump would think of himself in the same sense as Hitler is a terrifying thing. The man quotes Hitler.
They're poisoning the blood of our country. That's what they've done. Vermin within the confines of our...
And the enemy from within. The enemy from within, Fashion Dolls. This man is dangerous. Make sure you're registered and go out and go vote. And there's only one clear choice. It's this woman right here. I voted Monday. Make sure you guys make your voice heard, because this could be the last of democracy, or our last election as we know it. All right? So, without further ado, I'm about to introduce my very special guest. Let me get my questions up here. He is a director. He is a stunt coordinator. Let's welcome to the Dollhouse, Fashion Dolls, Dillon Wilson. Wait a minute. Your screen is black. I can't see you.
Oh, let's do that. There you
go. Oh. Hi, handsome. Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. So before we kick off this interview, how has 2024 been for you so far?
It has been a year of adventure. This was the year I decided I wanted to kind of step away and travel more. You know, when you're in the film and TV business, you can't travel that much. You have to always be available. And so for more than 5 years, I only went away for weekend getaways. This year, I just got back from a 3-month tour in Southeast Asia, and I'll be hitting some Latin American countries as well as some places in Africa. So far, it's been nonstop adventure.
All right. So let's start from the beginning, because we know you as an actor, you're a director, you are a stunt coordinator, you do it all. So let's start from the beginning. Tell us who Dillon Wilson is, where he grew up, how many siblings, and at what age did you pursue your passion for acting?
Originally from Pennsylvania, and I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I have 5 little knucklehead sisters, as I call them. And actually, when I growing up, my parents were into like making little home movies and stuff, which I didn't like. And they thought they were the cutest things ever. As a kid, you don't want to do that stuff. And I never really liked it until a buddy of mine, who actually was from another country, he was a director. And one day he asked myself and a couple other guys to be in a movie of his, and also to act and also do some stunt work, right? And we were martial artists, so that, he knew that. And when we worked with him, I saw how it was, and I said, I really like this. And so much so then I went to film school, for it. So I go to film school for it. And that started me out with directing. Now, one thing that I always wanted to do, this really shaped my career, which is kind of unique, I think, amongst a lot of people coming to the business, was I always saw that a lot of the TV shows and movies, the lead actors, the main actors were always white, right? And if they had any people of color, it might be an African American, usually one. It was a rule, just like in the sports, it used to be a rule on how many, blacks you could have on a team. There was like one black person. They were going to die regardless. So even if it's a comedy, somehow they figure out a way for them to die. And so it was that, or it might be a Latina or Latino, and they were usually a pool cleaner, pool boy, or maid or something. And I said, why don't we see, real life people, African Americans, Latinos, other people called Indians that are portrayed, as they are in real life, And I said, one day I'm going to do something about that. And so that's why when it happened, I could go and I did research. I learned that the one who could influence who's in the movie was a director. So I said, that's what made me really want to go to film school. And so that's what really started me off. And when I started directing, I learned that the genres I liked were always action movies and comedies. Those were my two favorite. And so then I learned that one of my instructors, I need to have a stunt coordinator to work with. And as a result, the movie budgets were very expensive. And so you always depended on a stunt coordinator. And I said, I don't like that idea of having to be dependent on somebody, to just give me this, because I have no idea, what they're doing. It's just, here's what the action we want done, And so I said, why don't I go and learn some of this stuff? And then that's kind of how that journey began. I kind of segued and decided I was going to expand and learn other skills, really just to become a better director.
Absolutely. Now, you've mentioned stunt coordinator, which we'll get to that, but I'm going to cover the acting aspect first. Now, what acting methods or techniques do you typically use when you're getting into character?
So I always think of it kind of like this, and especially if there's anyone who's thinking about coming into it, because you'll learn different styles, Meissner and method and all this sort of things. The way I kind of observe the progression is you're in an acting school first, and then you may learn a plethora of different acting methods. Yet there does come a point when I believe that you have to graduate, because if you don't, you wind up becoming one of those students who's always clinging to their teacher. You got to step away. At that point, you've learned all you need to learn for your basic skills. And then at that point, you're working with an acting coach. You don't want to just have a career just an acting coach. You need to actually, it's like someone who has a voice coach and someone who went to school to learn how to sing, right? So in school, I learned all the different methods, and then when I got an acting coach, he had a system that really worked for me, and different people I've talked to, everyone has their own system ultimately they design, their own method, their own journey for getting there. Yet the system he showed me kind of made it simple, and it started out by showing us how to break down a script from a writer's perspective, not an actor's perspective. And because he was an excellent actor as well, and had studied, he went to school to become a writer, and then also did some directing, casting work as well. And so his method incorporated that. And I thought I knew how to break down a script because I had learned it in school. Writers break down a script completely differently than an actor does, yes. Right? And when you come at it from a writer's perspective, and that's the challenge most actors have. A lot of times they get this advice where it's, hey, you read the character, you read over the script, and then you make a decision and you commit fully to it. And you don't leave anything on. So either they love what you did or they don't, which is not good advice, because you don't have to guess. If you know how to break down a script properly from a writer's perspective, you see exactly how they want you to play the character. And you'll start hearing things like, from the directors, finally, someone who gets it, someone who gets the character. And so that system helped me a lot. And so what I do is I start first with that. And because of that, I can get into the writer's and director's head based on what the information they're giving me in the script. And so now if I send them questions, the questions are already on target. Like they already know I get it. And I may ask, hey, how do you want, is there a tick? Is there something you want to play? Is there an accent that you kind of,
Right.
what about speech patterns, about this, that, and the other? And they're like, yeah, we love it. That's perfect. And so once I understand that, my next step is I live as the character, right? So this is one of the reasons I like playing characters longer, not just for just one movie. If I get a series, I can live as this character even longer. And so as I walk around my house and go throughout the day, I'll live as that character. How would this character shop? What would they, what would they eat? What's their diet consist of? How do they brush their hair? How do they brush their teeth? What's their morning routine? And so for me, it's challenging. It was always challenging for me to become this thing. And I think it is for most people. Yeah, it was easy for me to become another person. Like if I were to ask you, think of a relative and act like them, it's easier for you to jump right because you see a person. There's a person in your head that comes to mind, as opposed to this piece of paper that has like a breakdown of the character. It's like, what is that? That's not a human being. So for me, it always helped when I defined the design this human being in my head that I could see, and then I just become that human being, and that always has helped me tremendously. As far as getting to a character in any environment, with 1,001 distractions going on, because there's nothing challenging or trying to take me out of the moment when I am that person.
Absolutely. And that brings me to my next question. Now, how important is your approach with building chemistry with your co-star?
So this is where the directing has helped a lot with the acting. They like I said, I learned all the other skills to become ultimately a better director. There's two things that I learned to do, and I really learned it from the directing, and it helped me do it as an actor. The two things that are best to do is to have the actors, me and my co-stars, hang out together. Ideally, if we can go out on a night in the town, we're just hanging out, regardless of what the relationship is. If in the project we're friends or allies or enemies, there's still chemistry even between enemies, right? And so literally just doing something social creates those bonds, and you have that history. And that's what I used to do. Yet then there are times when you can't do that. You show up on shoot day, and it is what it is. You might have a few minutes before you gotta go live or something, depending. And so I took an exercise from an acting school, yes and. Are you familiar with the yes and exercises? And there was one where we did one where we would create a common history. So the whole premise of a yes and is, if we're doing it, I say, okay, we're going to talk about a trip that we both went on in Hawaii, right? And then I'll say, one of the great things about Hawaii was the food there. The food there was amazing. And then you would pick up and say, yes, and what I really enjoyed was the service at the restaurants. And I would say, yes, and we just keep going, right? And so by doing that, what we actually create are common memories. And it's the next best thing to hanging out. So, and I learned this as a director, and I started using it as an actor. When I needed actors to get chemistry and I didn't have a lot of time, I would have them run through a couple of yes and exercises. And I would even have them take them through family members who had passed away and stuff. And they would say, yes, and the funeral was like this and this kind of thing. And suddenly you have these people who are complete strangers 10 minutes earlier, and they have common memories, common emotions, and suddenly there's a chemistry there. It's undeniable, an undeniable chemistry that didn't exist before. So regardless of who I'm with, if we can't have enough time to kind of bond and everything before a scene, then I'll talk to them and say, okay, let's do a couple yes and exercises. And every actor is always down with doing a yes and exercise. That always works very well for me as an actor and as a director.
Now, what do you believe is the most challenging aspect of being an actor?
Life outside of acting, because I think unlike a lot of other arts, like sculpting, painting, you can still do those and have a traditional life, right? Yet I'll give you a perfect example. A buddy of mine he was the star of this movie that they're trying to get into Sundance, and it's been getting a lot of acclaim. And in this role, he had to go to a dark place, and he taps into trauma in his life, which translated well into the screen. And I mean, they're shooting for 30 days, so 30 days he's experiencing trauma. So much so, even after they wrapped it, he came back home for like weeks afterwards. He's still like just feeling it, very bursting into tears for no reason, right? And that's the difference. So imagine trying to balance that with a 9 to 5 is very challenging, So I think that's probably one of the greatest challenges is that you can easily do music working a 9 to 5. I won't say easily. I know people who do it. So you can easily schedule working on music and schedule doing painting and stuff like that. Yeah, when it comes to acting, a traditional lifestyle, I think, is really one of the main challenges. If you're really committed to it, if you just want to be a part-time actor or commercial actor, it's not the same. If for someone who this is what I want to do, that's usually the greatest challenge. I can see even for myself and even most actors that I know as well.
Hi, photos by Madeline. Try to swipe out and then come back in and see if that'll work. You said you couldn't really hear me. Can you guys hear me? We're going to keep this interview going. I'm going to keep it going. My next question for you is, what is the process of overcoming nerves for a big scene? How do you overcome nerves before you shoot a scene?
You know what? This is another thing. I think it's more experience, because I think different actors are different with this. Some still say before, I think it's more for theater, though. I hear this more, where if they're going on stage, there's more of a nerves thing. Yet, when you're used to shooting or filming, like for film or TV, you still have an audience. It's usually crew, any other cast and crew. Different if if you're in a theater, there's like hundreds of people in an audience, and there's no take two. So I can see how that would generate a situation where nerves would enter in. Yet for the most part, with film and TV, I think that's more of a newbie dynamic, because there's so much to get used to in the beginning. If you're not used to trying it's you and 2 or 3 other people, and you have a really dramatic scene, you may even have to cry or something, and then it's like 50 people running around you, shining lights on your cameras and all this type of stuff. That takes some getting used to. So I think it's more once you're used to it. I've not worked with any actors, and I mean A-list actors who've been around for like ever, who still say they have an issue overcoming nerves. So I think that's more of a newbie thing and more of a theatrical thing. Now, I will say this. I remember hearing Dustin Hoffman speak, and he said he would still sometimes feel anxiety when he would have a character and he had to get emotional, Yet it wasn't so much, nerves, I would say. It was maybe delving into a character, and he would feel some anxiety, beforehand. So for me, I never had an issue with nerves, is the whole point. And once I got used to it, I could walk on set. I mean, bam, bam, bam. What marks? What are my marks? What are the beats? What am I going to improv? That kind of thing. And I rock it. I'm in and out. Yet I would say more so that.
Now, how do you handle improvisation on set? Let me read you guys' comments. Hi, hello, Harriet the Spot. Thank you. Or maybe a James Bond girl. Fit is fire. Thank you. Um, my look was actually inspired by Mary J. Blige from the My Life album era.
I can see that.
That's why I have the blonde hair today, the gold hoop earrings. I wanted to channel Mary. So I had to make sure that I executed it right. But for you, how do you handle improvisation on set?
So that same method I learned before from my acting coach, which changed everything for me. Because a lot of actors struggle with this. And I'll put struggle in air quotes. Because as a director, I can tell you that when actors improv, they always think they're doing a great job, right? And that's not always the case. It helps if you have had improv training, number one, because it helps you to still stay in character and just focus on beats and still have a nice flow. From an actor's perspective, when I'm preparing for a role, I always give a director at least 4 to 6 different ways I can play a scene, right? I learned this from Anthony Quinn. One interview he did, he said he could give a director, he could play a character or a scene 100 different ways. And I never forgot that. Because I said, how could he play a scene 100 different ways? I said, maybe I could do 2, you know? And I didn't. And it wasn't until I met the acting coach who showed me the system where and I understand how to break down script differently, that the system you can learn how to play each scene 9 different ways, which revolutionized everything for me. So usually though, of the 9, there's probably 3 or 4 that are pretty good. And so I already know how to play a scene, 3 or 4 different ways. And when I show up to set, I show the director that, right? And they'll usually choose the first or second one for doing it. Now, since I already have 4 ways I've already done, when it comes to improvising, I just kind of bounce between those 4, right? And so they're liking the choices I'm making and everything else. What I can say as a director, though, is that it is a challenge when you're working with actors who are improv, right? Because especially they don't understand how film and TV work. Because you have to do the same thing, right? You can't do a different improv every take, because then it's unusable. You can't edit this stuff together. So the way that works best is when you improv, the director lets you as an actor improv and think this, if you're an actor. And then once the director says, I love that, do it just like that each time. Because if they have the time, they're going to have the writer come in and update their script on whatever you just improv. And that way everyone is saying the same thing, and it'll cut together smoothly in post. So if you are learning how to improv, think of that technique. And that's where when you improv with the actors, you remember what you said and what you did in your body language and stuff so that you can replicate it over. I work with actors who couldn't do that. They could improv their butts off. Yet once we got to, especially with comedy, a lot of times we'll shoot what's on the paper and then we'll play, right? Do improv. And there's sometimes we just did scenes, we did improv, and it was really funny. And the director's like, okay, let's shoot that again. And the other actor who was good at improv and yet didn't understand the technique I just shared, didn't even remember what they said. Didn't remember what they said, didn't remember what they did, and they could not reproduce the same performance again. So I would say just those things, if you have some other way that you're ready to improv it going in, at least several ways. And then once you get it, know to remember that everything you did in that take, and you're gonna nail improv every time.
Let me read some of you guys' comments. So much work here. I bet your work is fire. And Dillon is an award-winning stunt coordinator, actor. And we're going to go through some of his resume of work in a minute. That's crazy. Yeah, I know, right, Noli? I wouldn't be able to remember either, but I got a memory like a goldfish. OMG, your actors must get annoyed, so annoyed at the end of the day. You look beautiful and gorgeous, sis. Now that she said something, but sis pulls it off buried and married. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much. Now,
Definitely got the Mary J. Blige thing down. It looks good. It looks good.
thank you. You guys see the gold hoops. I wanted to channel. It was an interview that she did, and I said, okay, I have to recreate this look. Now, yesterday, my hair, what was my hair color? I forgot what my hair color was yesterday. I can't remember. I think it was gray. I did gray and black yesterday, and today I said, if you're going to do Mary, you got to go back to blonde. So blonde, everything perfectly. So when I sat and I looked through, had to flip through some magazines, and I said, okay, that's the one right there. And I looked through the My Life album jacket, and I said, she used to wear these type of hats. Okay, I need to go about doing it this way, this way. This is actually, I know you guys are thinking it's just a whole coat, but it's actually a skirt. It's a skirt at the bottom, too. So I'm wearing a skirt today, too. But let's go through your catalog of work. You've got Rogue Gladiators, Behind Enemy Lines, Dark Horizons, Gladiator Uprising, Reckoning, LA Vice, Private View, Marvel Knights, Deadly Alliance, Double Cross, which was one of my personal favorites. You've got 5-minute action movies, Great Expectations,
Kind of stuff across the board.
on and on. We'll be here calling them all off. Now, with you being a stunt coordinator, what is the most craziest thing that has ever happened to you while performing a stunt on set of a film?
You know, let's see here. Stunt coordinating. Let me see. I can happily say that nothing serious has really happened to any of my performers or action actors. Make sure I may qualify this. Yeah, nothing. And that's a thing among stunt coordinators. The for a stunt performer, that's a different story. Uh, I would say probably as a stunt performer. Let me before I get to the fall. There's something else besides the fall. All right, no, there's one time where as a stunt performer, uh, I fell. Are you familiar with what rappelling is? Rappelling
Yes.
is kind of like you can like rappel out of helicopters and out buildings. And one time I was rappelling out of a third-story commercial building, and I learned a lesson from this. And so there's a locking snap link and just one that doesn't have a lock on it. And I was doing an Australian rappel or forward rappel, and which means that the snap links are behind you and you're going down forwards, right? And what happened was somewhere along the way, the rope started spinning on what's called the gate. It's the thing that opens up in the snap link like this. And I couldn't tell, once you start going down. And I remember hearing this clicking sound, just one click, and it was whoosh. And I'm like heading straight face first down 3 stories into the ground. And fortunately, the belayer, heard the clicking sound and just pulled the rope out. Yet it didn't stop me because the rope was no longer wrapping around the snap link, right? Yet at least it pulled me, instead of coming straight down, it pulled me out this way. So it kind of broke that trajectory. And I wound up landing over here into like a log that was on the ground. And believe it or not, afterwards, I didn't even have a scratch. 3 stories, right? So 3-story fall, face first on the ground, onto a log. And not even people who fallen from the standing position hit their head and die, So 3 stories, and I survived. We actually went right back up and did the thing again. Yeah, I would say that's probably the most harrowing and craziest thing that happened. That's a stunt performer, though, not as a stunt coordinator.
And do not try that at home. I've interviewed stunt coordinators and stunt actors here, like Spitfire Brown. He was Rain in Mortal Kombat. He said, "Well, I'm getting lit on fire the next day." I'm like, listen, this is not for the faint-hearted. Nolly says it best. Holy Jesus, that's why I don't jump off of buildings. My cousin broke his jaw with his own knee doing that. Listen, what advice would you give to actors out here who are working with stunts? Because you're bound to get injuries. You're bound to get injuries. It's bound for things to happen, but you have to make sure that you get that perfect take. What advice would you give to them?
One is training. You know, if you get good training, that's going to shape your career. Because if you're an actor, you have to learn how to do action. There's no way around it. So many times, and I even tell stunt performers this as a stunt coordinator. A lot of times when I would get hired by production, they didn't want to bring in stunt performers. They wanted the actors to do the stunts. Because I mean, everyone's not doing fire burns and jumping off buildings and stuff. A lot of times it's basic fight scenes where they fall on the ground and get shot a bunch of times and fall on the ground. And so those are simple pratfalls and things. So a lot of it was doing actor training. We would train the actual actors in production, sometimes a day of the shoot, and they would actually do the stunts. So if you have had stunt training and you let production know this, that's going to be huge, because sometimes production has the stunt coordinator have a say in who the final pick is. If it comes down between you and 2 or 3 other people, and the other 3 people have no stunt training and you have stunt training, and the stunt coordinator has any say about it, they're going to say you, virtually each and every time. I can tell you that from experience. So if you get some type of training, and not just one class where you learn how to do some stunt fighting, be able to do basic stuff like basic pratfalls. And I'll say this: actors have an advantage over stunt performers, because a lot of stunts is the physical expression, we'll say, of dialogue, right? So you still have to act during the stunt, and so the stunt performers who theoretically book the most roles or are the best are the ones who can do good combine acting with stunts. So if you're an actor and you learn stunts, you actually do have an advantage a lot of times over stunt performers who have not taken any acting.
Yes, that's serious. I'm reading your comment down there, Naptown. I don't know, that sounds funny. Now, Naptown, don't go jumping out of no jet planes or nothing like that. Now, please do not try this at home. Like you said, it's about training. It is a professional. That's why the professionals do it. This is serious.
It is
Now,
fun as
do you
hell, though.
have
I
some
will say that it is fun as hell.
to anybody? It is fun, and I know a lot of people get like what do they call it? Like a rush off of jumping out of these planes, the thrill of it. But it is serious. You can injure yourself permanently. Now, have you ever had any serious injuries to the point where it's just like, okay, cut. I can't.
I, I tell you what. I guess there's two things. I'll tag on something you just said. Like the one thing where it's common for people who aren't in the business is they think a criteria for being a stunt performer, a stunt man or stunt woman is being a daredevil, and that's not the case because you actually get yourself hurt and get other people hurt doing that. It's more, I think, it's not so much about a cheap thrill as it is about a sense of adventure. So the whole adventure from, showing up on shoot day, hanging out with the stunt team, because when stunt shows up on set, the set oftentimes is, I won't say shuts down, yet we're celebrities. Like, because everyone's used to shooting talking head stuff all the time. And so when the stunt coordinator, the stunt team shows up, everyone's like, oh, it's stunts. Everyone wants to see the action sequences. And so even when we're performing, the actual director, has to, I had to turn this thing back off, has to often, or first AD rather, has to tell people to keep working because they want to stop working. So that's really part of the allure. It's working with other people and it's doing something that adds such production value to the project. Not so much that we're thrill seekers, because a lot of what we do, we learn how to do it safely and predictably. Because we may do the same stunt like 12 times in a row, and so you have to have systems and safety systems in place to be able to perform it without getting injured. The second part you asked about the injuries. There are serious injuries. Probably my most serious one was like a neck, something with a neck strain. I had a neck brace for a week, and others have had. I would say more are it's stunts is a contact sport, so you're going to get injuries. They usually aren't career-ending injuries. Yet, I mean, every time you do something, there was one project. It was a foot chase scene. It was a night shoot. It was cold outside. We had to run, through the streets and everything. And then at one point, they had like a low-angle shot. We had to leap over these trash cans, right? It's this classic shot. And each time, we're leaping over, my partner and I. And then one time I come down and my ankle gets tweaked. And now I got like an ankle brace. Another time, I got a finger brace. Another time I got my arm in a sling. It's just stuff that just happens over time in stunts that you will just typically consistently get little tweaks, aches, knee sprains, all types of stuff. Yet if you have a good stunt coordinator, that's the key thing, a good stunt coordinator, and you are, you're practicing and stuff, you really minimize the magnitude of your injuries. Yet the other stuff, stunt fighting, someone's going to kick you in the face sometimes, you're going to get punched in the head sometimes, it just happens. So it's always a litany of not traumatic injuries, yet things that are going to take a few days to a week or so to heal. That's just par for the course. It's like any other sport. Think of a contact sport. That's what stunts is. You understand? So if you have good training, you're not going to have some career-ending injury, yet you will have little boo-boos and all types of stuff along the way.
Now, I'm not opposed to what Naptown just said, which is I used to bungee jump. I did it out of a helicopter. That was such a rush, but it was fun. And he said, sign me up, Dillon. Not me. I'll do the bungee jump, but anything else outside of that, no.
I don't know
Now,
if this is something you wanted to cover or not yet. One of the things I did, maybe I'll wait because you may have a question that we covered. It's
yeah.
something that actually one of your comments has made me think about.
Um, that was going to be my next question for you is recovering from injuries and then going back to set because and then Spitfire, and then it was Anthony Velvet Hall, who has done pro wrestling, who also acts as well too, and he's talked about injuries and how this is not for the faint-hearted. If you were going out here and you were doing these stunts on set, this is in real time and you were actually using your body through this. So for you, on average, I think, yeah, there we go. I think it takes a while recovering from an injury. For you, how long does it take you to recover from an injury?
All right, now I'm going to give you a little insider information
Okay.
with this one. This is speaking strictly as a stunt coordinator. A lot of these stunt performers are hard-headed because you tell them. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say we're on a shoot and they're going to be doing stunts for a whole week, right? Monday through Friday. And you got like you see there's swords, fighting, and all types of other stuff. Day one, at the end of the day, you're feeling it. And you could get, bopped in the finger or something like that. Yeah, then there's no rest day, right? So the next day you're back there. And so just like, let's say, playing football or something, you have to find little ways to keep up for the game. You put that's what I mean. You have all these little bandages, and another training I did for action actors and stunt performers, I covered all. So you got this one, you got wrist braces, thumb braces, all this type of stuff that you have to put on so that come the second day of production of shooting stunts, production shouldn't know that you have an injury. They shouldn't know that in day 3 and day 4 and day 5. And what I always would share with stunt performers, especially when they get injuries, is learning how to do self-care. And I tell them a lot of times the injuries they use the rice formula. They just rest it, ice it for 24 to 48 hours, compress and elevate. So if you do this within 2 to 3 days, that's going to be gone, right? As if you don't do it, it could be around 6 months from now, it'll become permanent. And you'd be amazed how many of them don't do it. I don't understand it. And they'll be there 6 months later still complaining about a shoulder injury or, something like that. Yeah, so a part of them still having the performance that they're not taking care of themselves properly. If they get a minor, we have a distinction. We call it being hurt and being injured. Hurt is you can still work. Injured, you can't work. Right. So that's what we say. So if you're hurt, you get kicked in the crotch. You get a busted lip. You get a tweak in your shoulder or you tweak in your neck. Yet you can still work with that. Right. If you get a dislocated neck or something, your teeth get knocked out and they need your face on camera, you're injured, you can't work. So a lot of times the stunt performers don't understand that being hurt without proper self-care becomes you being injured. So if you get a tweaked shoulder and a tweaked neck or something here and you don't do self-care that night at the end of shoot day and put that ice on it and stay your butt in your hotel room or something, now when you come back to shoot that or set the next day, it grows into something bigger. So that's more common is just that the self-care is not practiced. Now, if there is something major, like I told you, I had like a neck thing before. I had buddies that dislocate their neck on set and stuff like that. The worst part is there's no, disability. When you're a stunt performer. You're living on your savings now until you heal. I had a colleague who did a roll on the ground, and don't ask me why he didn't have a spine protector on. He was out in the forest, and all it takes is a tiny little pebble like this, and you roll on it, and it hits your vertebra, tweaks your spine. He was out of work for 6 months from a tiny pebble, right? And that's what I mean is knowing those things. Those are the things that take you out. It's not the big stuff, right? And so that kind of thing, there's no issue coming back from it because you can't wait to get back to work, So it's not like riding a horse and you get thrown and you wind up in a full body cast and now you're afraid to get back on the horse. It's not like you can't wait to get back to work. It's just you gotta force yourself not to start training and working out too soon usually, and just letting your body heal.
I'm looking at what Neptown just said, which is, listen, when I was younger, me and my big cousin used to open people's gates to let their dogs chase us to see if we can outrun the dog. Listen,
that's one way to get faster at running. I'll definitely say that.
So, what advice would you give to the up and coming actors at home? They're doing this at home, and I guess that's their way of practice. What would you tell them?
All right, real talk. Okay, because I have lot of I have a lot of people that reach out to me on Facebook as well with the same kind of questions, especially people who are actors who want to become action actors and be stunt performers. And I would say maybe three things. And this is real. You know, this if you do this stuff, you're going to get some kind of traction. Number one, forget making money right away. Let go of that stuff. One of the biggest mistakes a lot of actors make, they go take some acting class, now they want to get, you know, full rate. I can't believe they're only offering $100, or the project only offered me IMDb credit and footage from my real. It's like you're a nobody. I mean, really, you got, yeah, from the industry's perspective. In the industry, if you're an A-list actor, that's why they cast you, because you can, if you can guarantee that you're going to have people view the movie, and for a distributor, they can sell the movie or sell a show in those regions, and they're going to make money. Yeah, when you're just a new actor, you don't even have a popular social media channel. You can't guarantee production to get butts in the seats, we'll say, or viewers on the project. It's all financial. It is a business. So since you can't guarantee, in regards to how good you convince yourself you are that you are as an actor, right? You ain't an A-list actor, so you can't make them more money. That's the thing I always tell actors, right? So get that through your head. Regardless of how great you are, you think you are, you can't make them money. So in the beginning, the most important thing to do is make relationships. The best way to build relationships is doing free and low-paid projects. You can pick and choose the ones, right? Because you could tell someone who's just doing a passion project and someone who's like, I'm a filmmaker, I'm in this to do this, and right? And so, and even with the guys on the guys and the ladies on our stunt team, I would always teach them the same thing: is build those relationships, because the people who build relationships are in the industry 10, 20 years later. Because as those directors go on, they remember you. They remember when they first started, and you know nobody else would work on their project, and they only had $50 a day to give you for gas money or something, right? And don't listen to people who tell you not to do those projects. A lot of times the people tell you don't do those projects aren't even in the business 5 years from now. These are facts. So the other thing is, the other reason why you want to get rid of the thought of making money right away is you can go to the union. And if you're in the States, you can contact SAG and ask them what the actors get paid. They keep track of, they pay everybody. They know what everyone makes. And here's a statistic that has never changed. Only 2 to 3% of SAG members earn enough to support themselves. That means all the Denzel Washingtons, the Brad Pitts, they're all in that 2 to 3%. And when we say support themselves, they ain't millionaires. That means like they might be making 50, 60 grand a year, depending where they're living at, 70 grand a year, maybe in LA, and you are not living well in 70 grand a year in LA, right? That means they have a 97% failure rate as far as people trying to make a living just doing acting or just doing stunt performance. So when you understand this coming in, set that to the side. Focus on just becoming good at your craft and having fun and building relationships. If you do that, your career will grow and the money will come. Those are facts. I know people who came in with a five-year game plan. How you gonna put a 5-year game plan on this or a 3-year game plan on this? They didn't even make it to 5 years. 2.5 years in, they left. They were out of it. I know people who've been in there for 30 plus years, going on 40 years. And every one of them always did the same thing. They're still working now. They don't even audition half the time because the people the relationships they built way back when already know what your talents are. Most of the stuff, acting gigs I got, I always told people I never auditioned for it. The producers and directors that worked with me on other projects and knew what I could do. They'd even have the writer write parts for me. They said, Dillon, we already know you can do this part. I said, you don't need me to audition, self-tape it enough. This is you. We already know what you can do. And that's what happened. So when you have those type of relationships built, you know, that's the major part of your career. So I would say that's number one or number two as well. The third thing is, especially for actors, this is not the case as much for stunt performers, sadly. Yet having legitimate training credits on your resume to show you could do different things, like again with some of the stunts and things that we talked about before, makes a huge difference. And it just is for for everyone. You know, if they know that you have had stunt training that puts you to the front of the line, you have 10 other people who are in front of you before. At the moment they say none of these other 10 people have stunt training, yet this person does. Bam. So for you, having that type of training and having that on your acting profiles and your resume, oh my goodness, that makes such a huge difference. And I tell you, you wind up making, you end up, and this is a strategy we also teach as well, how to make the stunt coordinator an advocate for you. Because when those resumes come in or the submissions come in, and they'll show the stunt coordinator, their picks, the stunt coordinator looks them over and then can recognize the training that you've had. You got an advocate. It's like, look, if this person had the training, they already had, I can work with them. I haven't even met them yet. If they had this training, it's not the first time they're going to be exposed to this. So I can work with them. And that's happened a bunch of times.
And word of mouth. It's crazy to see women doing stunts. Actually, I'll give you an example. Viola Davis, the Woman King. We've seen her actually train behind the scenes when working on this project. Like she was literally physically in the gym. Another one would be Black Panther. Because again, these are action films. And in action, you're literally hands-on. You're putting your body on the line to make an incredible masterpiece. And it's so worth it. But it can result in injury, so you have to be very careful on set. So that's what we're talking about today.
To tag on what you just said, there's a woman who has a Instagram profile. I think it's Sammy Ryder or something it is. And for years, she just had like these little clips she would put up where she's like, doing dramatic moves with the sword. And because of that, that's how she got discovered. And they actually cast her in the last Black Panther movie. And that's how, because they just saw that she had the skill. She's an actress, and she just kept, doing little tricks with the sword and uploading videos. And so they say, what I forget the name of the, is it the Dahomey? That might be the real African tribe of warrior women. The ones in Black Panther were the Dora Milaje.
Yes.
So they cast her to be one of the Dora Milaje because they could see that she was an actress and invested in having training, and she would put up videos of herself actually doing all the sword work and other stuff. The training, it works every time.
And it's worth it. It's worth it in order to have a great it's long hours, but it's worth it because when we actually go to the theater and we see the project, the outcome is just amazing. So to anybody out there, make sure you train hard. Do not try this at home. Go to a professional. Try, work with a professional and perfect it. Now you have some projects that are coming out. One is in pre-production, one is in production, and then one you just completed. Aftermath, Spycraft the series, and then Behind Enemy Lines the series. Now, what was it like?
You do your homework, I'll tell you. You do your research.
Yes, I had to. Every interview, I had to make sure that I was on it for this one. Uh, what was it like being on set and how many hours on set for each project?
So with some of those things, I remember before I mentioned that I enjoy things where I can live as a character. Like to be perfectly accurate, I barely watch any of the projects I've been in. It's like a thing with me. It's crazy, right? Most actors can't wait for their stuff to come out. Yeah, for me, it's like once I finish, I don't know. I don't watch it. I hear other people tell me about it. It's crazy. I don't know why. It's something I've always done. Some of them I do. Yeah, for the most part, I've not seen most of the projects. They don't come out right away anyway. Especially feature films. Yet, what I determined along the way, I said, if I'm going to keep doing this, and I am, what would I prefer to do? And I said, I'd rather be doing series because I'd rather live as a character. So there are investors who are starting another streaming service. And whenever they start streaming services, they want to have core shows that they launch their streaming service with. And so some of the, I've got cast as the lead in a couple series. And for me, it's perfect because it kind of fulfills my mission. Because I kind of started out with. So one of them, I think I'm a CIA case officer. It's a spy thriller series. I kind of think of it as kind of like Ronin meets. There was a spy thriller series starring Claire Danes. You remember that? It was like it went. What I'm talking about? I don't know. It'll come to me yet. It's kind of a blend of that, and so those series. Are powerful and impactful to me because they show life as it really is. So there's a cultural cast and crew, on the sets. And one of the things that we do, like one of the things I've done is when I would get training, I would go and get, top caliber military training. So I didn't just do like a boot camp. Like I have all kinds of military training. I've trained with SWAT teams across the country. I'm a qualified sniper. I got sniping certifications. Everything I did was either with the military or law enforcement. Don't even ask me how I made some of that stuff happen. So all this stuff that I have is legit as a stunt coordinator, technical advisor. And so with these series, that's one of the things we really wanted to do was emphasize a lot of the realism with it. And you'll see, a lot of people who are actors and actresses who would not traditionally get these opportunities in mainstream Hollywood productions, and in these productions they do. And so those are the things that are like really, that really mean a lot to me, because that's what really started me off in the first place. Was I wish to be able to do that, to be able to provide people with those opportunities. So to have investors who are doing that and want to fund those types of projects, and I could get to be like the same character for like multiple seasons, those really appeal to me.
Let me read some of you guys' comments. Naptown says, so is it great pay being a stuntman?
It's much better pay being a stunt performer. Actually, the best is stunt coordinator. Yet it's much better because you always get paid more than actors. Actors usually get paid the lowest. And yet, as a stunt performer, depending on the collective bargaining agreement, this is without getting too technical, on theatrical productions, you're right now, I think it's about $1,100 per day. So imagine you go in, and a lot of times they don't even have you doing a whole lot of stunts. You might be waiting on set for 10 hours, and then they're behind schedule. And like, come on, we're gonna shoot the stunts in the next 30 minutes, and then you go home. Sometimes it's like that. Other times you're working the whole darn day. Yet you're making like $1,100 for one day of work. And so they need you for like 3 days. You got like $3,300. If they need you for a week, there's like a weekly contract. If there's certain stunts that you're doing, like fire burns or something, or car hits, you'll get an adjustment, you get paid more, so definitely the pay is better as a stunt performer and stunt coordinator. Actors, you're going to get paid a lot less.
Yes. And Noli, she says, you're your own worst critic. You will seek out flaws that aren't even there, huh? And that's for anybody who's a consummate professional. Your thoughts, Dillon?
You're 100% correct with that. I would say only thing I would offer is this: modify the way you approach it. So don't think of it. No one likes to be criticized. I'm talking about this is good into like your cognitive restructuring kind of thing, right? So no one likes to be criticized, even if it's yourself. It's like I'm my own worst critic. It's like that doesn't even feel good even saying it. Yeah, just like you just said though, Stevie. If you want to be better, like people have life coaches and success coaches. It's like, what? I'm my own best coach. So I want to always help me to become better. And then if you let go of the critic stuff, because that has like a negative connotation, right? Then you'll find yourself feeling you want to hear that, because you want to hear input from a life coach or a success coach, because your success coach doesn't criticize you. They help you to become more successful. So if you think of it more like that and say, I'm my own success coach, or whatever way you want to word it. So whenever I always seek to become better. And for me, I fly with that kind of stuff. That's why when I would come up with different versions of a scene, me as a success coach would say, okay, Dillon, that was good. Let's run it like this. Give me a little swagger with it this time. And then I run it again, and I'm watching myself in my recordings in the camera phone. So I never criticize myself. And these are even from other actors that I know too, who are like been around forever and been in everything. It's always something where we kind of help ourselves to grow and become better with each performance.
And Nola, she says that's why you don't watch your finished films. I've had to stop doing that, going back and watching my interviews, because I'll point out something and find something that isn't even there, and they're just like, "Girl, please stop it already." But what are your thoughts to that? Not going back and watching your films.
It's similar to even being a director as well. Like if there's any filmmakers who are watching the show as well, you know what I'm talking about. In post, you'll spend so much time looking at every single second of a movie or an episode, you know, the coloring, the sound, the cuts, you know, all types of stuff. By the time that film is done, you don't want to see that thing anytime soon. All the actors like, yeah, when's it going to premiere? And you're like, if I see this movie one more time, right? So it's kind of similar to that. I mean, it's like if I would say if I had was in more series, I would watch this series more. Yeah, for me, again, if I commit to becoming a character, and then I'm that character, and I live as that person, you know, for the duration of principal photography, that movie may not come out for a year to 2 years, and for some reason, I don't know what it is. It's like I don't want to know why. I don't wish to. The inspiration to watch it isn't there. I'm not that character anymore, and it's like that's something I did so long ago. Maybe that's kind of part of it. Like that was so last year, kind of thing. If it's a series, I would watch it more because I'm the same character and I can actually get feedback. Maybe that's part of it, is that I can't do it any better than what I did, you know? And so with a series, I can watch and say, you know what, I'm going to try this in the next couple episodes or something. Yeah, you know, maybe that's part. I never really thought about it too much. Yeah, it was just, and after a while, it kind of became a thing, so I just kind of accepted it. Yet I know that when I give a performance, I don't leave anything, I don't hold anything back. I give everything. So I know there's no regrets, you know, nothing like that. Yeah, maybe it's just part of it, that it's just something I did, and that's part of my past, and I focus on the present and future kind of thing.
Yes, and yes, yeah, I'm the same way, Nolly, because see, I will, like I said, even with myself, I will go back and watch some of my interviews and I will critique and point out things. And my friend, she just popped up in here, Felicia, she'll be like, girl, you're making a big deal out of it. You did a great interview. You did great. Everybody will be like, you did amazing. You did great. But you're finding something that isn't there. But when you are a consummate professional or a perfectionist and you like things to be done perfectly. You want to make sure that your shots are done perfectly. You want to make sure that the sound, everything like you've mentioned, is great and that the audience likes it. I don't want to. My brother K Tukes is the K Tuke spot is the same way. I've done the same thing too. Go back and critique, and he would text me sometimes, and I'll ask him, brother, how did I do in the interview? And he'll say, you did great, sis. You did great. I'm like, I don't think. So I mean, we constantly critique ourselves on these things. So it's I mean it's a thing perfectionists do.
I mean, literally what you just said, I think lends more credence to what I said to myself now. Because if it were something that's episodic, you can look at it. Because once you play a movie from 2 years ago, you can't change anything. Like if you're doing ongoing shows, it's easy to say, you know what, I need to do this or do that in the next episode. That's why it'll be, I know, and when I've done episodics, I have watched it. Yet if it's like a one-off project, I've already done it. That was a year and a half, 2 years ago. There's no way to improve it anyway. So I think that might be part of it. Yet exactly what you said is what I do when it's an episodic. Because I want to see, you know, I want to see something, and I want to play something different, or I want to make something stronger, you know, that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So before we close out this amazing conversation, Fashion Dolls, because I hope you guys enjoyed it and had some fun and learned some new things. We are going to do two things here with Dillon, and I do this with all of my guests here in the Dollhouse. The first one is the Rapid Five, and Dillon has to tell me five things he can't live without, and then the second one is called Turn the Tables. And this is when my guests get to ask me as many questions as they want. For my new viewers out there, you get to know a little bit about me through Dillon's questionings. All right? So we're going to start off with the Rapid Five. Dillon, what are five things that you can't live without?
This is definitely one of the questions you left out when you emailed me. The rapid fire. Okay, five things I can't live without. Uh, I would say freedom, number one,
Yes.
and that means, you know, to do what I wish to do with my life when I wish to do it. Number two would be I like the land, so nature, you know, having in its various forms, everything except really cold Arctic type regions. jungles, mountains. I love that kind of stuff. Um, number three, doing martial arts. That's one of the art forms I enjoy, martial arts. Uh, four, I would say specific family and friends. You know, not all the family, not all the friends, just specific ones. I realize, and I share with people, you don't realize how much of blessings friends are. Family has to be, their family, and you can't stop that. It doesn't mean you have a good relationship with them yet. When you have friends who are really close friends, these are people who just look into you, see something of value, and care for you in a way that no one else does. And they can be for you. They can be there for you in ways that other people can't. So they're just truly blessings. Having close friends.
Yes.
That's number four. And let's see, number five. What other thing? Yeah, I don't know. That might be. I'm not married. I don't have a family of my own yet. I'm going to say, maybe my own personal family. That's in the works, though. Yeah, I'm kind of sure that I would like to. Once I have it, I wouldn't want to live without.
Absolutely. And it's coming. It's coming. I love what you said, though. You said freedom, and then you said family and friends. And those are things that are close to me. I can't live without my family, especially my mom. My mom has been my
But wait,
biggest
I didn't ask
supporter.
you your five. You're jumping ahead. I got to ask you your five next.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, those are all right. So, Stevie, what are your five things? What is it? You said the fast five, or what were they called? What do you call
Rapid
them?
fire. Rapid
The
fire.
rapid fire. All right. So, Stevie, what are the rapid five things that you cannot live without?
Well, first and foremost, my father, my husband, my boyfriend, my everything. God. God is number one. Um, that I'll tie that to family as well too, because those are the key to important things. That's number one. Number two, fashion. I don't know where I would be. I love fashion. I love dressing up, accessories, handbags, earrings, makeup, hair. I have to have it all. Um, Number three, I love to write. I love to write. I'm always in a book, always writing things down, always making notes. So that's number three. Number four, I would have to say my phone, my calendar's in there, my books, appointments, everything is in there. So that would be number four.
Yeah, your phone. Okay.
And last but certainly not least, number five, around this time, because the weather's starting to get brisk and cool, I would have to say a nice cup of cocoa. I love hot cocoa during this time. So yeah.
You're number four. I'm going to remember that with the phone. I can't live without this phone. Okay. All right.
Yes, because everything is in there. Everything like my
Right.
appointments, my
Right.
interview dates, emails. Like we've now, well, we used to do it the old fashioned way with our books, but now we can put it in our phone. So I can't
Right.
live without. So yeah.
Okay. That was very revealing.
All right. All right, fashion dolls. Do we have any questions for myself or Dylan before we conclude? And my last question for you is, with the year coming to a close, because it seems like 2024 went by so fast, what are you looking forward to as far as uh, stunt coordination in the next generation of? Because now we got AI, we've got technology, all of these new things emerging. What are you looking forward to for the year 2025? As far as stunt goes.
Well, like I mentioned before, 2024 is about my year of travel, and 2025 is when I'm going to return back to acting a lot more and also directing. I'm actually walked away from projects. So I didn't want to get distracted. Yet people are so terrified of this AI thing, and there's a reason to be concerned, without a doubt. Yet I kind of see where the industry's going, and it goes in cycles. And for anyone who's going to go into stunts or going to acting, even who's going to be a filmmaker, a lot of times these days it kind of goes hand in hand with some people. I'd say think of ownership. Like I have this conversation a lot with other actors, especially people who've been around for a while. and haven't went to the next level or something, and they just want to get their career going. And it's like there are more and more content creators and even people who just started their own, who've started these things, their own platforms, right? Where they're, have series and movies and things, something private, not YouTube. And that's where the future is going to go. Guarantee, you mark my words. It's just like before when we had like a local movie theater in a town and everyone went to that one local movie theater, and then, they had the United Artists where they have like 5 screens, all this type of stuff. And then it became a corporate chain, and then all those are gone now. It's the same online. So you have Netflix and these big streaming services, yet there are smaller platforms like that are privately owned, that are more niche focused. And those are going to be the places, I think, where actors are going to find a home. And you're not going to be, ravaged by AI and, taken advantage of by big studios and stuff. So even with like the shows I was talking about, that's what I look forward to doing, are those kind of private networks where you can live as an actor. You don't have all these layers of bureaucracy to go through. If you have an issue, it's like, listen, we talk right to the people, hey, can we get more of this? Can we get more of that? And, just like before when people used to do like theater in the park, it's kind of almost a close relationship like that with these privately owned platforms, which, after a while you can make good pay and everything with them as well. Yet I think long term, that's where a lot of actors are going to find themselves, as opposed to dealing with the studios. It's a business. Always remember that. It's a business. They don't care about you. And I've said about the union as well, that they're a union in name only, say. They're not a hiring union. They don't care that 97% of their members can't support themselves. They don't care. They're making no steps for that to improve that. So if you come at it that way, keep an eye open for those things, those opportunities, and it'll kind of hedge against AI. That's what I did, with some of these projects. And I know that we'll build a home and a following, with the streaming service that the investors are building, which is what we want. Ownership. You own your own theater, or you go in and with someone who invests the money and do that. That's it. You're not affected by that stuff anymore. You've removed yourself from that danger.
Exactly. And you're welcome, Noli. Thank you for bringing us another great interview, sister. This cat is dope. That was for you, Dillon.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Before we close out, any last minute words of encouragement, tips, or motivation, or anything that you would like to give to the Fashion Dolls or your supporters?
All right, I guess there are 2 things. And one, I have a online course. Is it all right if I kind of plug it here?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So again, real talk here. Especially if you want to learn stunts, and sometimes actresses make the decision along the way to become stunt performers. It's very common, for that to happen. You start as an actor, and then you say, I'm going to do stunt performing, because you make a lot more money, and it's more fun. It is more fun. What you'll find is that in the U.S. and even other countries around the world, for a long time it was a good old boys network, and so it was dominated primarily by white men. And again, these were men back in the day. Some are still alive. And I'm not saying it's all white men now. That's what it was. That's why they had to start a Black Stuntmen's Association, a Black Stunt Women's Association, Asian American Stunt Association, a Women's Stunt Association, because they had to have all this advocacy to get these other, people of color and other minorities and disadvantaged or challenged groups more work. They would put wigs on to take the parts of women. They call it wigging. They put brown face and black face on to take the parts of African Americans. They do all this type of stuff, right? And so that's changed, yet there are no real protections in place from that. And the other issue is when it comes to training. So oftentimes what happens with a lot of stunt performers and action actors is at a certain point, you only can learn this much. That's all they're willing to teach you, because you have to get taken under the wing of a stunt coordinator at some point to learn to go to the next level. There's no school or stunt university you can just 101 and 202, right? There's these little free seminars or $50 seminars, and you get the most basic stuff, and that's it. Someone has to adopt you. In stunts, there's an old saying: there's 3 ways to get into the stunt business. You're born into it, you marry into it, or someone adopts you. That's it. You're either born into a stunt a family, or you marry someone who's a part of a stunt family, or a stunt coordinator adopts you. Fortunately, I was the latter. I got adopted by a stunt coordinator, and it changed everything. So when I was coming up, I said, you know what, one day I'm going to do something about that. And I always have people reach out to me. I started my own elite tackle stunt team and everything, and still have it. People reach out to me all over the world, from different countries, a lot of African countries too, wishing they could come to LA and train with our stunt team, right? So it took 3 years that we put together an online stunt school. If you can go to stunt, schools locally, get stunt training locally, that's great. Yet the online stunt school is at prostunttraining.com. So prostunttraining.com. And it's an online stunt school where a lot of stuff is simple. You can learn it. It's video instructions. We break it out step by step. We also have it where we have a stunt coordinator on our team where you can reach out to through email, or even we have a Facebook group, or even if you can send videos and we give you feedback, all kinds of stuff. And it's our way of changing that dynamic, destroying that good old boys network once and for all. So doesn't who you are, nobody stands in your way, nobody can stop you. You take away everything, and now you have the same opportunities that everyone else had. And we even share with people how to market their career because we lived it. You understand it? This was myself and the other people on our team, ladies, all kinds of people. We all had our horror stories coming up through the ranks. And so we went down the list and made sure everything that they would need, 85% of what they need for their career in stunts is in the online course. And we always make ourselves available. So this has changed the game. We got people in New Zealand, different African countries, in Spain, all across the U.S. now who are training in small towns where you would never be able to learn this kind of stuff. And it's all at the website prostunttraining.com. And that's everything. Empty hand stuff with swords and spears, even movie gun training, learn how to shooting, guns and stuff for the movies. Everything that you need to actually to start a career and continue growing a career.
All right. Fashion dolls, there you have it, prostunttraining.com. Make sure you guys please go and check out Dillon Wilson. Check out his projects that are coming out. Stay tuned. Today's final thought is the speed of the boss is the speed of the team. We got to work together, and it's all about, as Dillon just mentioned, having a great team behind you. And I'm so thankful for you guys and your unconditional support. And guess what? This makes interview 693. We are on the road to 700. So thank you guys so much for your love, your support, tuning in, whether it's the fashions or the guests. You guys stay engaged. So thank y'all so much. And Dillon, let everyone know where they can follow you. Of course, prostunttraining.com if you guys are getting interested in wanting to know more about stunt coordinating. So what are your other handles so that everyone can check you out?
All right, if you go to the website, you can also sign up for our email newsletter, which I highly recommend because we give free training, actually. You can actually start training tonight with some of the stuff that we send to you. Video training we give for free. And once you sign up for the newsletter, you'll have my personal email as well. You'll be able to contact me. My email address is in there, phone number is in there. Don't call, though. I would say email me, though, if you're going to do anything. And it'll even send you my the Facebook. Facebook's the best place to contact me because that's where the majority of the film and TV business is. Everyone wants to be on Instagram and TikTok. That ain't where the film business is. It primarily is in Facebook groups, LinkedIn somewhat. It doesn't compare to everyone's in Facebook. So definitely Facebook's the best way. And if you send me a friend request, I will accept your friend request. I keep my friend requests of my friends under 5,000 for this reason. So if you send me a friend request, I'll accept you as a friend, and I'm more than happy to share stuff with you if you have any questions.
All right, fashion dolls, there you have it. Now, again, this makes show 693. Thank you guys so much, and head on over and subscribe to Style by Stevie Daytime if you have not, to check out the rest of the interviews. Now, joining me tomorrow, we have another amazing actor and stuntman as well too. We have Dwayne Nelson joining me tomorrow, and I will see you then, fashion dolls. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and Dillon, thank you. I had such a great time.
I had a blast. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. Take care, everybody. See y'all later.